First of all, I would like to thank you for coming up here in our first interview in 2021. Appreciate it very much.
That's not a problem, bro.
Now, I would like to start for anyone who doesn't know who is Damien Corvin. Would you define yourself as a wrestler and as a person?
Um, as a person, I'm pretty chilled out. Yeah, I have a kid. I have a fiance. I'm just like a really, like a very normal, laid back kind of guy. I have you know, um, a very relaxed life and just, very, very boring, if I'm perfectly honest. But in the best way, in the best way. As a wrestler, Damien Corvin is none of those. Um, just very aggressive, arrogant, you know, a little bit violent, and just not a very nice person in general. There are a few places that like me to be a good guy. I'm not a good guy. It's I'm the bad guy. That's the way Damien Corvin is. He's a bit of an asshole, really. It's probably the best way to put it.
I have a couple of things pointed out. For example, you are 4 times OTT Tag Team Champion with Bonesaw, one of those times last week in Welcome Back to the Second Hall. 2 times PWU Champion, current winner of the World Tag Wars tournament of TNT Extreme Wrestling, and something that has caught my attention. In some places, you are known as the Prince of Pain.
Yeah, the Prince of Pain was my original sort of name when I was first starting out, because when we all start out as wrestlers, we all have the same sort of influence. Especially my generation. We're the ECW Attitude Era generation.
Yeah.
So we all love Raven, and Jeff Hardy, and people like that. Um, so the Prince of Pain character really was just like a very Raven esque. Everybody wanted to be Raven. Everyone wanted to be that cool, sort of grungy heel. And that's where that came from. Obviously, once we became the Kings of the North, I no longer was a prince, so we dropped that. I kind of got an upgrade there to the Kings of the North, and kind of moved away from the Prince of Pain gimmick, and on to the more realistic, and the realer version of me, which is the Damien Corvin you see now, at OTT and TNT. Obviously, those are ICW as well, are promotions that I work for quite regularly. And I mean, as you've mentioned, they're very successful with Bonesaw, Duncan the Shorterly, and now with Adam Maxted, as the Kings of the North faction. So all going very well.
Uh, it's interesting. I have uh, in the wrestling, for example, many times we see how those characters that you are commenting on become a main factor in determining the superstar who triumph. For example, wrestlers like Bray Wyatt may not stand out much for his abilities in the ring, but later his character can catch you in such a way that it's impossible to not see one of his fights or segments. So I would like to ask you about this. How important do you give to the creation and development of the character?
Yeah, for me, character is more important. I've had this sort of question asked a couple of times, and like I would always say that I'm a sports entertainer. I am a professional wrestler. I'm not. I'm a good wrestler. I can wrestle. But I'm not an Olympic wrestler. I'm not I'm not a Jonathan Gresham or someone like that who's so technically sound. and who knows, thousands of holds and thousands of counters. I'm quite a big guy, especially by Irish standards, and I'll hit you hard. And it's kind of my style of wrestling. Is more bollocks and brains, go hard or go home. But character wise, I think that's where I stand out, especially against the crowd, because of the work that I put into my character. I don't just go, I'm the bad guy, so boo me. I do
Yeah.
take quite a lot of pride in the fact that when it comes to creating Damien Corvin and creating who I am, that I have taken elements of real life, that things that have happened in my life that would that could have taken me in a different direction than where I am now. I've explored that direction. What would have happened if I had made that choice, and what would have happened if this had have pushed me that way, and things like that. And then I look at, for example, a big one for me is Sons of Anarchy. I look at Jax Teller. A lot of what you see in Damien Corvin comes from Jackson Teller, because we had a very similar upbringing. That character and me, and our dads were both killed tragically, very young, um, doing things they really shouldn't have been doing, and I could have went Jack Teller route, and and went towards that side of things, the violence, the crime, and things like that. Or I could have taken the route that I've taken now, that is, given me, a beautiful family, and a beautiful house, and a very, rewarding career. So by exploring what could have happened, where I could have went, and by taking such fantastic writing from Kurt Sutter and acting from Charlie Hunnam, I've been able to incorporate that into Damien Corvin. And there's other influences in there. I use characters from the movie The Crow, and from Fright Night, and from The Warriors, and things like that. When I talk as Damien Corvin, I put on this big bad nasty accent, and I took that from the Kurgan in Highlander, from when he gets his throat cut.
Yeah.
That's a small thing to add to your character, and if you take all of this and put your own twist on it, it makes you unmissable. It means when you put a promo out, people are going to watch it. Um, and it's not just you standing in front of a black screen going, "I'm the bad guy, you're the good guy, and I'm going to beat you up," because they've heard that.
I would like to talk about great wrestlers in ring as well. I was checking your Catchmate page, and I saw that you faced great wrestlers such as Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, Trent Seven as well, Jordan Devlin, and X-Pac, a legend in the wrestling industry. What is it like to have in front of a WWE Hall of Famer like the last one mentioned?
Um, it was actually very easy. He was a great person to work with. Um, and I've been lucky in the fact that any you know legend that I've had to work with has been incredibly easy to work with, and very giving, with their time and their effort, and really just concerned with how I looked, which was nice to have. So whether it was with X-Pac, with him, um, Mick Foley, we all, uh, you know, Sabu, Rhino, Scotty Too Hottie, and a few others, that I've been lucky enough to wrestle, and work with over the last few years, and they've all been incredible to work with. Don and Jordan, and people like that. that you'd mentioned as well. It's great to work with these guys also, just to get different styles of wrestling, and different you know different outlooks on how things should be done, and it means that you get to tighten up your own abilities, and going into next matches, you're getting more out of it.
It has also caught my attention that you have faced two of my compatriots, Aquí and Carlos Ramos, between you
Yes.
and me. Would you like to face them again?
Oh, definitely. I loved working with Aiken and Carlos. It was great. It was unfortunate that the time I got to work with them, I suffered an injury. Luckily, at the very end of the match, meaning that we got to have the full match with them both, and it was fantastic to work with them. So I mean, I would absolutely love to wrestle Carlos and Aiken again at some point, hopefully in the near future.
We can make a couple of calls now that most of the European companies are getting back to normal.
Yes, let's hope so.
Okay, now back to the thread. You have participated in many companies around Europe, such as OTT, Defiant, Progress, and some other that we are mentioned before. But however, would you like to work somewhere outside the continent, like Japan, Mexico, or the United States?
Oh, definitely. I would really like to, once the travel is back to normal, and we're no longer restricted as we are at the moment, I would really like to travel more, and get some more work in. We were lucky enough to work with the Gorillas of Destiny, and have done a few shows with Minoru Suzuki, and the Los Ingobernables de Japón, and a few of the New Japan guys. So wrestling over in Japan would be fantastic. And at some point, definitely the States would be great.
I like to change the subject and now talk about your stint as a member of King of North alongside Bonsa and Duncan.
Mhm.
How is your relationship with both? Since without a doubt, you have to get along with both of them quite well for all the time you
Yeah,
spend together.
it was a very good dynamic. We were traveling together for a very long time before we became the Kings of the North. So when we moved to the Kings of the North gimmick, and started teaming together regularly, it was a very, very easy transition. It was, Bonesaw's the oldest. Um, Duncan's just below him, and then I'm the little brother of the group. So that's kind of how it works. Is that it was just, they looked after me, and I looked after them, and we had a very good run. And now that Duncan has hung up his boots and has decided he no longer will be wrestling, I've moved up to the middle brother role, and we now have Adam Maxted as the youngest member of the Kings of the North, taking Duncan's place. So now he's taken on sort of my old role, and I've moved up into Duncan's old role now, with Bonesaw still being the head there. But no, it's a very easy relationship. If and we travel together, we wrestle together, we spend time together outside of wrestling, so it's very easy for us. As the Kings of the North, since its inception, and now that we've transitioned with Adam as well, it's just as easy. It's not difficult at all, and I mean I generally think that's how wrestling should be. Is you should be having fun with your mates more than anything, and I get to do that quite regularly, which is nice.
And doubly, those moments together should create a great relationship between you and the Bonsa and Duncan that will be different. I will be difficult to separate. But you have won championships, tournament, great matches, and all, I think, together. But what's left for you to win? What's your new goal?
I mean, as the Kings of the North, there's a lot of tag team championships that we haven't held yet. ICW, Progress are up there. There's those NXT UK tag titles. They're nice. But there's also, there's the IWGP tag titles, the heavyweight titles there. There's a lot that we can do. We're very much of the opinion that, you're only as good as your last accomplishment. So as long as you don't rest on your laurels and you keep on pushing, there's always more to be done. And there's three of us, so there's a lot that we can accomplish, the three of us, going forward. I'd love that OTT championship, the singles title, like that would be icing on a cake, I think, just for all the work that we've put in. But in general, there's no limit to what we can do. I genuinely believe that. I don't think there's anyone that can cut it well, that on this scene that can cut a promo like we can. I don't think there's anyone that puts the work in that we do. Now, there's a lot of guys who put a lot of work in. I'm not downplaying anyone else's hard work. I just think that we step up that little bit more because we're hungry and we want, we want to be successful.
I definitely would like to see you both in NXT UK changing pretty deadly, or however, somewhere that I feel you belong, or great companies like AEW, New Japan, or something like that.
I mean, it's really whoever has the contracts, that's where we'll go. And wherever we go, we'll give everything that we have. That's the mentality that we have. And until we get a contract, wherever it may be, whether it's Ring of Honor or AEW or WWE or New Japan or Impact or wherever, we're going to work as hard as we can, because that's just, it's a work ethic you have to have.
Yeah, for example, WWE is putting a lot of effort into European wrestling with NXT UK, and I suppose it's something that motivates you and other wrestler in the zone.
Yeah, it motivates us quite a bit. But what motivates me a lot at the minute is just seeing how hard everyone works. There are days where I get up and I'm tired. And I could just as easily lie down on the sofa and watch TV and eat, pizza all day or whatever. And then I look at, I pick up my phone and check Twitter or check Instagram, and I'm seeing Flash Webster smashing in a wad, or, the Pretty Deadly Boys are smashing out workouts, and there's Andy Wilde over in Scotland with Jason Reed, and those boys are killing it, and it just drives you when you see your friends and your peers working hard. It makes you want to work hard too. So
A question that would do any wrestler, it's, do you have any fun story with someone else that you never have told?
I don't know that I've never told. There's quite a few. There's quite a few. I mean, I think the best story that we have is we were going to Progress Wrestling, and we were getting the train from the airport to Camden, where Progress was at the time, with the electric ballroom. And a train in Camden runs like every 6 to 8 minutes maximum. It's fast, it's constant. And as we're walking up the stairs to go to the train, this woman and her son just smashed past us. nearly knock us down, and they sprint for this train because it's about to leave. Like, bearing in mind there'll be one again in 6 minutes, right? But this woman sprints and she throws her bags onto the train and does like a full-on diving roll through the double doors to get onto the train. But her son doesn't kind of like commit to it as much, and he just face plants the doors of the train as they close and like just falls flat on his ass. And the train takes off with his mom screaming from the train, holding her bags, and this kid is lying there on the floor. I think kid, he was about 16, he wasn't like a child. But and we just stood there like just shocked because we didn't know what to do because like there was a train in 6 minutes. It was literally that quick. But it was just like it was our first trip to London, so it was just like, oh, okay, this is London. This is how things go.
And a question that it sounds some cliche, but what advice would you give to a person who would like to start training wrestling?
Nice and easy. Find a good school. Google the reputation. To find out who their trainers are. Find out how long they've been wrestling. That's very important. Find out how many matches they've had is always a big one because you can be wrestling 10 years and have 3 matches. It's not how long you've
Yeah,
been wrestling; it's how much wrestling you've done, sort of thing. Stay safe. Make sure all the guidelines. Don't try anything out of your comfort zone. Don't feel bullied into trying anything out of your comfort zone. Just take it one day at a time, and mainly have fun. And it's supposed to be fun. None of us sat back and watched Raw or SmackDown or WCW and went, "Oh, that looks like it would suck. Let's give it a try." You know, we all went, "Oh man, this looks awesome. Let's go and do this. This will be fun. Let's be a wrestler." So have fun and go to hit the gym, exercise. You do not have to be Dave Batista. You don't have to be jacked to the gills, but you do have to have basic strength and conditioning for safety more than anything.
in Spain, for example, more and more schools are being created, and I think it's a good moment for all those fans who want to try. And, like you said, let's have fun.
Yeah, it's the most important thing is to have fun.
Okay, and now for finish, I don't want to take you much time. I would like to know how you did this, how you did discover the wrestling.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior.
Or
That was my
is it a
first
great?
taste of professional wrestling. Was me and my dad and my brother watched Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior, and I have been hooked ever since. That was my introduction to pro wrestling, and I thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. And I haven't looked back.
Definitely the great moments I think comes with when you are watching wrestling with your family. In my case, it was with my grandfather
Yeah,
watching Kevin Owens versus John Cena a few years ago, and it's the best moment I have in my mind about
yeah,
wrestling.
that's it, man. That's what it's supposed to be. That's wrestling.
Yeah, and that's all. I want to thank you again to come up here and tell us any about you, about who is Damien Corvin, what's his goals, and the most important, entertain people.
Not a problem, guys. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for having me.
We were watching you in OTT.
Yeah, we have another show coming up now on the 15th of August. So there'll be a new on demand Very soon.